Every night there's new people, there's new camping, there's new people, there's new sunset drinks, there's new stories to listen to, and you can fall into that trap of if you do it every night, it'll catch you, and it did us, and we needed to pull that back.
Premium, it may be an extra $100 a year to go the premium, but boy, for peace of mind, I'd do it every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
My biggest fear is that they won't offer us renewal because we've used so much of their money, but they did.
Is the Big Lab Chats podcast by All Around Oz, and today I have with me Lee and Daz from The Salty Life. Thanks for joining me today, guys.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Third time lucky.
Yeah. That's all right. We're all friends.
I'm just jumping in here quickly just to let you know that you're not hearing things again. It's not the same episode that you might have heard a couple of weeks ago from Lee and Daz. That interview actually took an hour and a half. So what I've done is split it into two because there's two distinct parts to it. One was all about the Ningaloo coast and camping there and booking systems and so forth. So go back and have a listen to that one, and then come back here, and then you can listen to Lee and Daz answer all the questions that I usually ask in a podcast interview. So that's enough from me. Let's jump into this next episode. Okay, I'll start the questions now.
Okay. All right.
What's one thing most lappers overlook that could make or break their journey?
I think one of the things that I've seen for some people is do some shakedown trips before you go. We did a YouTube some time ago, and I said we've stumbled across a few couples that if you've never done this sort of lifestyle, you've got to be really in love, and you've got to really enjoy your partner's company if you're going to choose to live full time in a caravan. Because if you've got a relationship that's a little bit testy on occasions, caravanning life isn't going to fix it. It's very close quarters living. It's a very, very small space, and if the weather turns on you, it gets even smaller.
Yeah, network around you, family and friends.
Yeah, it's not just jumping in the car and going around the corner and having a coffee with a girlfriend and all that sort of stuff. So some of that total family support network disappears because they may at any point may be on the other side of the country, and so that's probably one of my ones.
Yeah, I would say make or break would be making sure you've got a contingency fund for breakdowns and repairs. We had a major breakdown last year that cost us tens of thousands of dollars to repair. If we didn't have a contingency fund, that would have ended our trip. Yeah. So definitely make sure you've got access to some money for unexpected things would be my tip.
Yeah, a roadside breakdown service, premium.
Yeah, make sure
you've got the premium. So as Lee just mentioned, we were in Karratha and the failure was so bad. One of the things that we've experienced up on the whole of the Western Australian coast, if you don't own a Toyota Land Cruiser, most of the service guys just don't want to know you. And even if they do, I was talking to a few people in Broome, a few of the mechanical outlets, they can get booked out for 3 and 4 months at a time. So, and they're so accustomed to the tourists coming in and saying, hey, can you just do this? It'll only take 10 minutes. And they're battle weary from it. They just go, for instance, we had another problem in Broome and I'd taken my vehicle to a mechanic. He said, I'll test drive it in 3 weeks' time and then I'll see whether I can book you in. So he didn't even want to talk to me for 3 weeks. And we were at the end of the season. So, and that's where he was saying, mate, I'm normally pushing people out 3 and 4 months. So having a contingency to say the car's broken and we can't tow the caravan anywhere, which means we're probably going to have to pay a caravan park fee that you can say, oh, we're going to free camp around Australia. When you break down, you don't have that choice. You've got to get yourself back into our town because you don't have that transport facility for food and all your other essentials. So you have to go into one of those. And again, so that's if it's in the peak period, like we were in Broome, we were then into a very expensive period of time. And so you have to pay premium prices. So having that contingency fund to support those things is critical, because we've seen some people have to go home where there's been a failure and they've had to go home.
Yeah. And what was it that broke on your car,
sorry,
or how you broke
had,
down?
Yeah, we had a GVM upgrade in our Ram, which meant that it had a whole custom diff in it, and the custom diff failed. And then because one, it was an American vehicle, they don't like, a lot of people don't like working on them up in the northwest. They're harder to get parts for. They're bigger. They don't like them on their hoists. They're newer to the marketplace, so there's a bit of a, I'm so used to working on Toyotas. I've got parts in stock. I can keep moving them in and out of my workshop. Why would I bother with a one-off American vehicle? A lot of people falling into that problem. So they were, oh, there's no one that can help you back until Perth. Now, we had the choice of going to Perth or going back to Victoria. We chose back to Victoria simply for this reason. We had friends and associates in Perth. We had family back in home. So we said, why don't we take advantage of going home? We can do some family time. We can catch up with our granddaughter. We can do things, and our support network is more solid. And we had experts that we knew we could trust and rely on
because it was a custom diff.
Yeah, to restore what was broken, and we had to come up with some solutions in that. Ended up taking close to 4 months. If we had been stuck in Perth and without a car, we were stuck. And so we've still got our combi in storage. We were able to draw that out. We were able to then tap into a lot of our friend networks where they said, hey, could you look after our house for a couple of weeks? We're going to Bali, we're going on holidays. So we did a lot of house sits, and there were a lot of things that, again, started to minimize our cost exposure that we wouldn't have had in Perth. Yeah, I guess that'll be another tip that I'd throw in. If something goes wrong, don't make your decision in the first 24 hours. Really sit on it and contemplate what are your what are your best exit strategies, and even before you get to that day, forecast what would we do in the case of a major breakdown and a major failure. So our house is rented out, so we didn't have a home base to return to, and ironically, our close friends and neighbours, we ended up house sitting their house for a month, and we're house sitting in the house next door to our own house where our tenants were. Was
how weird.
Probably, yeah, it was quite uncomfortable for us, and probably quite uncomfortable for them. They're lovely people, and they had us in for drinks, and it's a good relationship. But you might not have that, and people might be
weird.
Yeah, it still was weird. But you gotta really have a few escape routes that if something does go major, and we see quite a bit of it, don't we? There's not one particular brand of car or caravan that is failing.
Yeah.
There's just breakdowns just happen in today's world. Australia's climate is harsh, and the environment out here is harsh.
We're asking a lot.
It's hard on product, and sometimes it lets you down.
So did you have to, your car wasn't that broken that you could drive it back to Victoria, or you had it trucked back?
No.
It was it was a $15,000 experience to get it trucked back. Now RACV, because we're Victorians, picked up the tab for the transport of the car and the caravan home, and then their total premium care package has a $15,000 ceiling, and so
I think it was like 12 grand for the towing, and then 3,000 for our flights from Karratha. Karratha, Perth, Melbourne with the dog. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. So that was all covered with your premium? Gee, that... But you thank yourself you had that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, without that, and sometimes, like the regional suppliers of towing, they take advantage of their placement in the world, and they remote, and they see you coming, and they charge accordingly. And that's
probably
the criticism. They have they've got to be successful. They're remote, and their charges and all their other expenses are more expensive than city life. So that's just a fact of life. So that is far from a criticism. That's just outback life. So food's more expensive, petrol's more expensive. Everything is more expensive because of traveling and logistics. But yeah, so and traveling with the dog made the complexity made it more complex, and so it was a lot of planning and a lot of. I'm lucky. Lee is amazing with planning and logistics, and she put together an amazing plan to get us home. But it's Yeah, we're not the only ones. And we
Mm.
just recently had some friends that broke down, and I just jumped on Instagram. We hadn't met these guys; they were Instagram friends. We now have, but we reached out to them and said, "Take a deep breath. Just really let the dust settle before you make a decision," because they were going home. They had booked everything to tow home, and they were Victorians as well. And as it then turned out, they then stumbled across a friend of a friend who was able to assist them. And what was thought to be a major tow home problem, where they thought their transmission had failed, turned out to be a fuel supply problem that was misdiagnosed and that was causing the concern. And so that was an easy repair, and they're back on the road and didn't return home.
If they hadn't like reacted on the day, they would have been home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we broke down in Broome, the supplier told us that the rear diff has blown up again. And I was adamant that it wasn't. And I couldn't get into another mechanical supplier. So I reached out on one of the community pages, and I found a travelling guy who was a young, heavy mechanical guy. And he came out, looked at the car, agreed with me that it was the left-hand front wheel bearing. We got some parts imported from the States in 6 days, and we were back on the road. Whereas that particular supplier had us on a tow truck going home. Now, we had some tears, both of us, and we couldn't believe that we were saying we'd failed again, and we were getting towed home, and it was embarrassing, and it was frustrating, and it was a lot of emotions. And we sat it out we decided to say, we're going to stay here for another week just to enjoy Broome.
Yeah.
And through that period of time, we were able to sort it out and prove. And we reached out to our mechanical experts and friends who kept convincing us, you're making the right decision. Doesn't sound, we're disagreeing with this diagnosis of put it on a tow truck. And we stuck to our guns and trusted our instincts, and it worked out well. That's another one I'd throw in. Trust your gut. It often, very infrequently will let you down. And it's always been a good one for us. Yeah.
Yep, I agree. Is there anything that you wish you'd done or taken with you before you left?
More money.
Look, we've gathered a lot, and we're just about to do a YouTube on some of our now travel essentials. You gather them along the way, and you watch other people, and you go, "Oh, that's a great idea. I'm going to poach that. That's going to work for me." So there are some things, especially for me, some of the tools that I've now changed to, and some of the things that you don't need. And I'll throw this one out. You don't need a whopping big chainsaw. You're not going to be cutting down trees. And in a lot of the areas, everybody loves a campfire, but in a lot of the areas that you go to, you're not allowed to remove trees. You're not allowed to cut down trees. You certainly don't need a chainsaw for a little small campfire at your camp. So I changed to a little reciprocal saw, and haven't looked back, have we? It's a quarter of the size, quarter of the maintenance, and it's just been fantastic. So yeah, it is the progression. Anything that
I think if there was anything, they would be minor things that we've been able to do on the road. We were pretty well prepared.
Yeah.
We'd bought the caravan a year before we started the trip. We'd bought the car a year before so that we could be really ready to go.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything that jumps out that, we think we should have done or should have taken with us.
Yeah.
But,
Did we get the water bladder on the way?
Oh, yeah, the water bladder.
Water bladder.
That's the thing. Like, we've been able to do things along the way, change the plumbing in the caravan so that it actually drains.
Yeah.
That'd be one thing. But other than that, we couldn't have foreseen a lot of the things that we've had to do. So,
Yeah, that's right. It's just all a part of travel, isn't it? That you just deal with things as they happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's your
right.
secret to finding the most breathtaking yet completely under the radar destinations?
I think that's got to be just talking to people that you meet. That's how you find things. We're going to head off on a bit of an explore today around here. We've spent lots of time here, but there are apparently places that we don't even know exist, and we're meeting up with some people that we've met here, and we're going off for an explore. So I think that's how you find them. We still watch YouTubes of other travellers to see where they've been and what they've seen. Probably not as many as we did when we were preparing for our trip, but we still do watch them and research. I'll still do lots of research about places that we're planning to go into the future.
Yes.
ChatGPT is also an awesome resource for helping to plan itineraries, places to go and things to see. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll double down on Lee that when you're around the campfire, ask the question. Hey, I know you were up north. What's a spot?
the must-dos?
What don't I miss out on? What
Yeah.
and what your least favorite? And those stories open up and take you down different paths and different experiences and bond the campfire chat together as well. And so the sunset drinks just up on a headland. Where have you been? And it's just the traveller sort of. Yeah, I think that's the standard fisherman tip.
Yeah.
Send him into the offices.
Yeah. Yeah.
They certainly don't like giving away secrets, that's for sure.
No, not at all. Where's your favourite free camp? Hey, it's Annette from Big Lab Chats. Want the inside scoop on where our guests free camp? You'll only hear it in the extended cut inside the BLC crew. Jump in now at blccrew.allaroundoz.com.au or hit the link in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No, it's not one of the prettiest places to play.
No,
It's terrible.
terrible. Terrible. And travelling around Australia is just awful.
Yeah, that's right. It's crowded.
Yeah. What have you ticked off your bucket list that you would go back and do again in a heartbeat?
Yeah, I've got one there.
We've had a couple of bucket list experiences. Swimming with the whale sharks was definitely a bucket list experience. Yeah, that was right up there. Snorkeling with turtles that's a bucket list thing for me that will never be filled. I could do that every single day and every day I go, oh my God, that was so amazing. There are a couple of bucket list things. For my 60th birthday, Daz organised a private helicopter flight to a secluded beach on the Dampier Peninsula where we landed and had a cheese board and a bottle of champagne and then flew back over sunset. That was a bucket list thing that I probably didn't even know was on my bucket list, but that was just amazing, wasn't it? And I've probably at yours.
Yeah. We personally are not big tour operator people. We tend to seek out more private, quieter stuff. But I'm going to support Ningaloo Blue on the coast up here for the whale shark experience. They handled that really professionally and with good due diligence, good care, and they treated everybody with dignity and respect, especially the ocean creatures. And we had the experience of a lifetime with the whale sharks. It was a very average day. It was quite terrible. I didn't think we were going to enjoy it. It was very, very windy. They still provided an amazing day, and we got to see, we jumped on seven jumps and we saw 5 different whale sharks. It was mind-blowing. Right down to the youngest kids that were on the boat. It was very, very safe, very, very professionally run. But
definitely
mind-blowing. Yeah, it is an expensive thing, but I would say if you're on the cusp of sliding down the mountain, jump, go and do it.
Yeah. And another bucket list thing for us, which it might seem silly, but we went to a rodeo. We went to the Broome rodeo, and we'd never been to a rodeo. And we always just say, oh, we want to go to a rodeo one day. And that really felt like ticking a bucket list.
Yeah, and
it was great.
It was a whole new experience for us, kids on the coast that had never seen anything like that.
Watched Yellowstone,
Yeah.
So.
The community of people were really cruisy. They were friendly. There was no variance between the older generation and the younger generation. It was a party atmosphere.
Great vibe.
It was a really good vibe, and we had a real lot of fun. That may not be everyone's cup of tea with animal welfare and all that sort of stuff, but it to us was a really unique and a very Australian experience as well. It was just the skill of the cattlemen on the horses and the guys who come in and grab the radio riders, well, the clowns, but also the riders that retrieve the guys off the animals. Their skill level freaked me out. I was just in awe of those guys. Yeah. So that was a really, it was a good experience. Yeah.
Well, I think you're the first ones that have said that. So It's certainly unique, isn't it?
There you go.
Yeah, that's cool. What are your 3 biggest money-saving hacks?
We don't have one.
Money saving hack. Even though we've been on the road for 2.5 years now, I still track everything that we spend so that I am at least aware of what we're spending. And that's not a hack, but sometimes it helps me decide whether I should go online and do a bit more Temu browsing or not. When I realise how much I've spent, on Temu or in the last 3 months or something, that will stop me from. So an awareness thing is almost my hack.
Woolies online?
Oh, yeah. So that probably has been a good money saving hack on the Ningaloo. So there's no major supermarkets between Carnarvon and Karratha. So you've sort of got 800 kilometres of only shopping at IGAs. But when you're in Exmouth or Coral Bay, there's a courier company that will do a delivery from Woolies for you for a fee.
Right.
And so we've used that a few times in being on the Ningaloo. And that would be a money-saving hack. We still support the local IGAs, with pop-up shops and stuff like that. But to do a major shop, I've just done a $600 shop that I'm picking up in Coral Bay on Saturday that I couldn't get what I'm getting in Coral Bay. So, and that'll last me for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be one. I don't really have another one. I don't have, I mean, we use, our fuel vouchers, our RACV fuel voucher and things like that when we're topping up fuel, but often you don't have a choice about where you're filling up fuel anyway. So
we've gotten better at doing some food prep. In the back of the Ram in the canopy, we've got a fridge and we've also then got an induction cooker, and Leah will often take a lunch with us. And so that's that. And even just on the road where the first year we were quite, let's just grab a pie at the servo as we get some fuel and all that sort of stuff. We've worked so damn hard that we don't want to, just skimp all the time to survive. But we have been a little bit more, let's just make a toasted sandwich on the side of the road or we'll get to a location and Leah will just whip something up in the sandwich press or cook up something really easy. And so we've been doing a bit more of that this year and we've enjoyed it more. The food been eating. We've sort of tried to turn the corner a little bit. Our first year, we put a lot of weight on. A lot of people think you're gonna go off and you're gonna be exercising every day and you're gonna drop weight because you're out swimming every day. For us, we were socializing too much and it poured up. I was almost up to 15 to 20 kilos heavier than when I left. And so every night, Saturday night, there's new people, there's new camping, there's new people, there's new sunset drinks, there's new stories to listen to. And you can fall into that trap of if you do it every night, it'll catch you. And it did us, and we needed to pull that back. A few people told us the 8 to 10 month mark normally starts to slow you down. Didn't.
I have thought of 2 other hacks. One was when we were in Broome, the Visitor Information Centre had a Visit Broome discount code that you could use for various attractions, and that gave us 25% off some of the attractions. So even the helicopter flight that Daz organised for my birthday, we got 25% off that just by using that code. So sometimes going into visitor information centres can give you access to discounts that you might not have known existed. That's one. The other one is that now that we've both turned 60 this year and we have seniors cards, is taking advantage of concession rates, which at the beginning we were a bit embarrassed to do. It was like, we felt like we were
same.
So now I'm just like, is there a seniors discount? I'll use the discount every time. So, yeah.
It was. I can't remember when you asked somebody that the other day. And I sort of looked at you and went, "We're not seniors, but we are."
Seniors are old people, aren't they?
Yeah, not us.
And it's it's that age-old thing of where I'm looking outside of my eyes, and I don't feel like I'm past 60, but people looking at us have a different view.
What was it? I'm a 35-year-old person born in 1965.
I hear you. I guess you've already answered this question, but there might be something else. What's one tip that saved you bacon on the road that isn't shared online often. I'm thinking of your, buy premium.
Yeah, that was that would definitely be a recommendation of like, it's so inexpensive to do, like compared to your basic roadside assistance premium, it may be an extra $100 a year to go the premium, but boy, for peace of mind, I'd do it every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
yeah.
biggest fear is that they won't offer us renewal because we've used so much of their money, but they did.
Yeah, it's funny. I've always been a a poor man pays twice, but it's been funny this experience. There's been a lot of times where we've paid, for example, really premium electrical components in the caravan, and it had the best upgrades that we could afford to put in, and they've failed. And then we've met some crew that have done it in a different way, and they've bought some of the, if I want to use the term, a budget supplier of some of the more of the chain store stuff. And it's been still working fine after 2 years. And I'm going, oh, maybe my theory's gone. That if you buy premium, you're going to get the double life expectancy out of it. So some of the camping gear that has really thrown us with that sort of stuff, hasn't it? That whole manufacturing stuff of, when I was a kid, if you bought a good quality stuff, it was going to last. That whole, you buy a TV now, when our parents bought TVs, they would last for 15, 20 years. Now, within 2 years, they're obsolete. And so there's been a big shift in manufacturing and components where you're still paying a real premium price, but they're still not lasting as long as what they should. So, yeah, it's funny. Like, it's a funny experience, that one for me. That.
Yeah, I guess it's the same for me. I've been sort of anti-Temu and those sorts of online shopping places until I jumped on there one day and looked up I wanted to buy a light for doing these interviews. And it was it's just like this little light like that, which I haven't got on today. But a friend of mine put me onto them and they were like $85 or something like that. So I went on Temu and picked up the same thing for about $10.
Yeah.
So I thought all these suppliers are probably just using Temu or, the same suppliers. Temu, if I don't know if they are the major wholesaler along with Shine, but there you go. You can get most of this on Temu. I was pretty anti it.
A tip of something that saved our bacon on the road, and that is if you don't ask, sometimes you don't know whether the answer is yes or no. So Daz needed to have knee surgery. We had a knee issue and, often navigating something like that can take you weeks and months with specialist appointments and MRIs. Simply by ringing a surgeon and asking the questions, we were able to fast track everything within 5 days from having MRIs to actually having surgery.
Wow.
So that is an example of like, sometimes you just have to be a little bit brazen and put yourself out there and say, we just rang the surgeon and said, this is our situation. We're traveling. We're going to be in Perth on this date. Is there any way we could do X, Y, and Z? And they said, yeah, sure. So that would be my tip of something that saved our bacon.
They're just asking or reaching out to the community. So the first time this surgeon, I reached out to the travel community on our Instagram and said, "Hey guys, I'm stuck. I've got what appears to be quite a serious knee thing that's going to need some surgery. Who do I use in Perth?" And when you put your hand up for that sort of stuff, people come out of the woodwork. And so it filtered down to 2 surgeons were getting recommended to me quite regularly. And so we then approached both of those surgeons. We then knew that we were going to fall into the bracket that most of these guys have extended waiting lists up to 3 and 4 months. We called them and said, this is our situation. We're not just a local. This is our case. They put us on a waiting list. 2 days later, they called us up. We were at Sandy Cape, just north of Perth, a couple of hours. Can you be here tomorrow? Yes, we can. Spoke to the surgeon. He said, look, where are you going to be in 4 months' time? And at that time, we said we were going to be on the Ningaloo. And his reply was, well, we can't have you over here in Perth not enjoying the Ningaloo and how beautiful our state is. What are you going to be doing at 7 o'clock in the morning? And I said, coming to visit you. And he said, yep. And he pushed in an extra appointment at the hospital and got me in. Now, he might be a very, very one-off, but we then, when we were up in Broome, fast forward another year later, and my other knee had then blown up. We approached him and said, we've had scans of this knee done previously. We know that this is damaged. We think it's worse. What can we do? We've got a 5-day window to fly back down to Perth. Can you accommodate us? And yes, they did. Even the crew at the MRI centre did an 8:30 MRI, which I didn't think they would do on a Friday night. And
Gosh.
they were, oh my goodness, why is there a fast track on this? I said, because I'm seeing, this is Friday night, I'm seeing the surgeon at 8:30 on Tuesday morning, and they've scheduled a hospital appointment at Thursday. If I don't need it, they're going to cancel it for free. And she goes, I've never heard of that. I said, yeah, well, we just asked. We just asked. And that's probably one of the biggest difficult things I've found, is that getting medical appointments in Western Australia, where the distance is so far, and I was going to say critical care, but to facilities like MRI scans. From between Adelaide and Perth, there's almost nothing. Then from Perth, Geraldton, there's nothing. So there's a nickname. There's a little comment up here in Broome or along the Ningaloo. When you're in pain, you're on a plane. It's a little bit sad that we live in such a wealthy country, and that Western Australia is a very wealthy state. But there are so many parts and massive differences between getting what to an East Coast person seems like a fairly simple scan to know whether you're going to be booked in for surgery. And so we've got, and always have had, private health insurance. For those who don't, coming over here, and if you fall into trouble, which could be just a simple beach walk and you trip over and you've blown something out in your knee, or any other part of your anatomy, you're going to have problems here. It's not an easy place to get fixed. And we've had experiences where people have been flown out on Royal Flying Doctors, and boy, we love that part of the. But some of those, we had one chap who broke his pelvis and in a paragliding accident, and he then spent 16 hours waiting for an evacuation back to Perth. Then there were times where people get evacuated down to Perth. You then have to make your way back home. It's not an Uber service where they take you back. And so again, having that contingency of funds in your bank account, that you're not on your threshold, because you will need a bus. I almost haven't met anyone that hasn't had circumstance, where there's another family that we traveled with that one of the kids got a splinter in his eye, had to be evacuated out from the Pilbara back down to Perth. Now, again, you don't have medical cover and you need to do that on your own. You're up for some big expenses. So get that stuff in line, ambulance, all that sort of stuff, get those sorts of cover if you can afford it, because it might save you thousands.
Yeah. Yep. I know I'm booked in to see a cardiologist in a couple of weeks, and that has been probably 2 months wait.
Wow.
Yeah. But that suited me anyway, because we weren't going to be down here, and it's not urgent. So it's just an investigative thing. So, I know and that while they were accommodating, they could only do so much for me. So when we first arrived in this area, I said, look, don't worry about it. Just make it sort of, November-ish. So, but yes, that's a really good tip. Ask.
Yeah. But even with Lee had a sunspot on her that we were quite concerned about, and one of our best friends is a doctor back at home. So we sent him images, and he said, look, I'm not happy with that. I really want a live inspection of that. We could not get, and we were in Broome for 5 weeks, we could not get an appointment to see a medical practitioner in the town. It was, so it's don't go away with anything underlying that hasn't been sussed out. If you've got a sunspot, don't do it on the road and say, look, we're really busy. I don't want this to slow me down. Do that first. That first, because it's going to be harder on the road. Really
important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just get all those checks done, blood tests, all those sorts of things before you leave.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, I think that's about it for me. Is there anything else that you want to share?
I'd just like to say, you don't need the shiniest setup. You don't need the shiniest car. You don't need all the flashiest gear. Just get out there. And if it's been your dream trust yourself. Tomorrow may not be promised to you. So go and do it. Go and do it. We were at a point where we'd had a really good business, and our business made the most amount of money that it ever made. And it was hard in our final year to turn the key and walk away. And our financial planner said, you've had this goal for over 10 years. You've worked with me. You've passed your goal. I'm just going to tell you one thing. And he was, go off and have your holiday. And we looked at the three of us looked at each other and said, that's the best piece of financial advice you've ever given us. And it was, and I've had battles with it, Lee, not so much, where we've walked away from that. And then there's been breakdowns, but we've had friends, as Lee said at the start, and family that are not here. And we're trying to live our best version of us every day. And so if I can leave you with one thought, if this is what you want to do, go and do it. Yeah. It's an overused term. You can make more money. You can't make time. So if this is a passion and you've had it, because we've seen travellers out here that might have a lot more money in their accounts than us, but they can't go for a swim because their hip doesn't work or their ankle doesn't work. Or if you're fit enough and this is your passion, get out there and do it and enjoy it.
Yep. Great tip. Thanks very much for that. And thank you for giving up 3 lots of time to come on the show. Yeah, we did.
As you can tell, Lee loves a chat.
Thanks very much, guys.
No worries. Thanks, Annette.
Take care.